So, good day everyone. Um, Today we tackle um, what we call research design. So, before beginning to your paper or term paper, you need to decide how to plan to design the study. So, kailangan planuhin mo na disenyo ng iyong study. Then, we go to uh, what by mean the research design. So research design refers to the overall strategy. So meaning in general strategy or approach or manner you choose to integrate or combine a concrete um, components of the study in a coherent, so kailangan understandable and logical or rational way. So kailangan ang iyong research design is logical, reasonable, then consistent and easily to understand. Next is ensuring you will effectively address the research problem. So, kailangan ang iyong research design is understandable. So, madali mong ma-address ang iyong research problem. So, madali mo lang masusolve ang iyong research problem. So, research design, it constitutes the blueprint for the collection, meaning is it compose collections, measurements, and analysis data. Then note that your research problem determines the type of design you can use. So malalaman mo ang iyong research problem kung anong disenyo or research design ang inyong ginagamit. So, journal structure and writing style. So, the function of research design is to ensure that the evidence obtained enables you to effectively address the research problem. So, malalaman ang iyong research design is effective kung ang lahat ng ebidensya na iyong kinukuha is effective to address, to have a solution to your research problem as unambiguously as possible. So, madali lang malalaman. In social sciences, research obtaining side evidence relevant to the research problem generally entails the specific type of evidence needed to test a theory, to evaluate a program, or to accurately describe a phenomena. So, kailangan di lang temporarily ang iyong research relevant to the problem. So, kailangan is relevant ang iyong research to solve or to have a solution to your problem. However, researchers can often begin their investigation far too early. So, kailangan ang mga researchers is bago sila magkaroon ng investigasyon. So gagamitin nila ang early approach before they have thought critically about what information is required to answer the study's research question. So, kailangan ang mga investigation na kanilang kinukuha, gagamit sila ng earlier than to conduct to answer the studies their studies research questions. So without attending to these design issues before.
Good day everyone. This is Leda P. Warbana. Our topic is all about the research design. So these are the continuation of our report. So the four types of research design is the cohort design. The cohort design is used in the medical sciences, but also found in applied social sciences. So a cohort study generally refers to a study conducted over a period of time involving the member of a population with subjects or representatives. Members comes from and who are united by same commonality or similarity. So the research, what does the studies that tell about the cohort design? So the use of cohort is the mandatory because a randomized control study may be unethical. For example, people to asbestos, you can only study its effect on those who have already been exposed. As confounding variables, cohort studies can enact taking a long time to complete if the resources of interest to develop within the group. This also increases the chance that key variables change during the course of the study, potentially imparting the validity of the findings. Because of lack of randomization is the cohort design. Its internal validity and lower than that study of designs where the research mandatory assigned participants. Research that measure specific factors often relies on cohort design because cohort studies measures potential causes before the outcome has occurred. They can demonstrate that this cause preceded the outcome, thereby avoiding the debate as to which is the cause and which is the effect. So, the cohort analysis is highly flexible and can provide insight into effect over and related to a variety of different types of changes. Example, the social, cultural, political, and economic, etc. So, what this study don't tell about the cohort design? So, the first is in cases where a comparative analysis of the cohort is a made, example, studying the effects of one group exposed to asbestos and one that has not. Researcher cannot prove all other factors that might differ between the two groups. These factors are that study designs where the researchers randomly assign participants.
Okay, good morning everyone. I'm Rosa Otuloy, having a video report on our topic research design. Because of this quarantine, I am having here a video report in our house. Okay, this is just a continuation of the report of our report research design from Sir Arnel to Ma'am Leda, and now it's my task to report the three types of research design. Among the 13 types, I am going to discuss the three. First is the experimental design. Now, what is experimental design? A blueprint of the procedure that enables the researcher to maintain control over all factors that may affect the result of the experiment. In doing this, the researcher attempts to determine or predict what may occur. Experimental research is often used where there is time, priority in a causal relationship, there is consistency in a causal relationship, a cause will always lead to the same effect, and the magnitude of the correlation is great. And now what does this experimental design tells us? This study tells us about experimental research allows the researcher to control the situation. In so doing, it allows researchers to answer the question, what causes something to occur? Also, it permits the researcher to identify cause and effect relationships between variables and to distinguish placebo effects from treatment effects. Another one, experimental research designs support the ability to limit alternative explanations and to infer direct causal relationships in the study. And of course, the approach of this experimental design provides the highest level of evidence for single studies. Now, what these studies don't tell you? Now, this experimental design is artificial and results may not generalize well to the real world. The artificial settings of experiments may alter subject behaviors or responses. Experimental designs can be costly if special equipment or facilities are needed. Some research problems cannot be studied using an experiment because of ethical or technical reasons. Now, difficult to apply are ethnographic and other qualitative methods to experimental design research studies. That is all about the experimental design. Next, we have exploratory design. An exploratory design is conducted about research problem when there are few or earlier studies to refer to. The focus is on gaining insights and familiarity for later investigation or undertaken when problems are in a preliminary stage of investigation. The goals of experimental research are intended to produce the following possible insights. There are possible insights to have the goal of this exploratory research. First, familiarity with basic details, settings, and concerns. Second, well-grounded picture of the situation being developed. And generation of new ideas and assumption, development of tentative theories or hypotheses. Then, there is determination about whether a study is feasible in the future. Issues get refined for more systematic investigation and formulation of new research questions. Direction for future research and techniques get developed. Now, what this exploratory design does these studies tell us? Yes, exploratory design is a useful approach for gaining background information on a particular topic. And
good day everyone, I am Debbie Gomera Lantixe. I am going to report now the continuation of our topic entitled The Different Types of Research Design. And my subtopic are all about the longitudinal design, the observational design, the philosophical design, and the sequential design. A longitudinal study follows the same sample over time and makes repeated observations. With longitudinal surveys, for example, the same group of people is interviewed at regular intervals enabling researchers to track changes over time and to relate them to variables that might explain why the changes occur. Longitudinal research designs describe patterns of change and help establish the direction and magnitude of causal relationships. Measurements are taken on each variable or two or more distinct time periods. This allows the researcher to measure change in variables over time. It is a type of observational study and is sometimes referred to as a panel study. Longitudinal research design means involve repeated measurement over time of one or more group of subjects. One of the major goals and objectives of longitudinal research is to quantify trends in human behavior, to describe the progression of life events, to identify patterns of behavioral change, and to test theory and to justify interventions to prevent human and social ills. For example, the researcher can explain or examine the relationship between school failure and delinquency rates and determine if those who fail are more likely to be delinquent than those who succeed in school. The next is the observational design. This type of research design draws a conclusion by comparing subjects against a control group. There are two general types of observational designs. Indirect observations. People know that you are watching them. And unobtrusive measures involve any methods of studying behavior where individuals do not know they are being observed. An observational study allows a useful insight into a phenomenon and avoids the ethical and practical difficulties of setting up a large and cumbersome research project. The next one is the philosophical design. The philosophical design, understood more as a broad approach to examining a research problem than a methodological design. Philosophical analysis and argumentation is intended to challenge deeply embedded, often interactable assumptions underpinning an area of study. This approach uses the tools of argumentation